Hey, everybody, welcome back. Are you kidding me? This is a world famous episode of Toon'd with Jim Cummings because we have none other than David Hayter. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it.
Well,
Come
thank
on
you.
down.
Thank you for having me, Jim. It's nice to see you again.
It's very nice to see you again. Here, I'm going to just I'm going to play catch with this microphone here, obviously. But we know each other from conventions, from Comic-Cons.
That's right.
And the occasional panel there. Mm-hmm. But the world knows you in a very entirely different, completely different realm. No funny voices involved necessarily, but a lot of funny writing involved.
Yes.
And would you say that, what is your first passion?
Oh, what's my first passion? My first passion was acting. That's what got me into this whole thing.
Okay.
I started writing when I was about 12 years old. Started acting when I was 9.
Wow.
Started writing when I was 12, but I never had any concept of how you get writing work. You know, acting made sense to me. You audition.
You go and you do stuff.
You read your things, whatever. But to me, the scripts can come down from the gods, and I was like, I don't know who's creating this, how they get this work, or whatever. So I never really pursued it, and then I just sort of fell into it. But I kept writing, and
yes, you did.
Fell into the business professionally in 1999.
Oh, okay. So it was 99, and the first thing out of the gate was
X-Men. Yeah, that was my first paid writing job.
How? Okay.
How does that come about? How do you go from nothing to I'm writing the X-Men film?
The Super Bowl.
It's
you went from the Sandlot to the Super Bowl.
That's right, with no practice. It's a very strange, wild Hollywood story. I had produced and starred in a little $250,000 film in 1997, and that was executive produced by Bryan Singer, who eventually went on to direct X-Men. He directed Usual Suspects.
Pretty well, yeah.
And which won a couple of Academy Awards, and I had known him before all of that occurred. And then the deal for my little film fell apart, and I was broke. And so I called Bryan and asked if I could have a job on his next movie, answering the phones or something. So I got hired to answer the phones on X-Men, and Bryan kept complaining to me because we had made a film together, so he knew I was a filmmaker, and he kept saying, the script is, it's not good, and nobody knows the X-Men, and I don't know how to achieve what I want to achieve. And I said, well, I know the X-Men. I grew up with the comic books and all that, and know these, I knew those characters like they were family, and so I said, well, why don't you have a scene where Cyclops runs into Wolverine on the mansion grounds, and he says this, and he says this, and he says this, and that'll solve your problem for you. And Bryan said, good, go write that for me. And I thought he was kidding because it wasn't legal. I wasn't in the Writers Guild. I certainly wasn't being paid. So I wrote the scene, he put it in the movie, and then he started having, and then he'd be, at the end of the day, I'd answer the phones all day. At the end of the day, he'd say, all right, take a look at this scene and make this better.
Wow.
So by the time the studio found out, I had rewritten about 50 some odd % of the script. They were in a legal bind and they had to make a deal with me. So they paid me $35,000, which is the Guild minimum rewrite fee. Basically I worked on the film for 13 months, went up to Canada. I was on set. I was there for all the casting. I was there for all the shooting.
Wow.
Wrote about 150 drafts of the script and got sole credit. And then my friend Chris McQuarrie, who had been the writer on the film before me, the Academy Award winner for Usual Suspects, called me up and he said, do you realize you are the most successful first-time screenwriter in film history? And that, I don't know if that's still
all
true.
By chance.
Okay.
All by chance. I literally fell ass backwards into it, and here we are.
It worked.
Yeah. And in the movie, and people didn't think it was going to be good.
This is pre-MCU, so.
Oh yeah. Nobody thought that anything that wasn't Batman or Superman or Spider-Man could work.
That's the thing.
And we had 11 superpowered main characters, and So
many, huh? I didn't even think of it.
yeah. And so we had to
There've been a lot
explain
of
while they
X-Men.
had different powers and different names and
Yeah.
this and that, and just setting up this weird world. And so nobody really had a lot of confidence in it. But I, being a fan of the comics,
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is a great world. It's an amazing place to be. And
Saint Stan Lee.
yeah. So that love of the comic books came through in the movies, and they did pretty well. And then
Well, it's a credit to you because with Avengers, we had all these films setting up, building to that one, with them all in the same one. You had nothing. You were making Avengers from the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. And if you look at the first movie, I mean, it really is all set up. It's just all describing what this world is, why they are. It's a very simple story. And,
Yeah.
You know.
How they got to be what they are.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Wow.
Yeah. But that's how it happened. It was crazy.
You have said that the 11 main characters all had to have their own journey, as you were talking about before, their own story.
Yeah.
Which journey did you struggle the most to incorporate into that world?
Well, I don't know that they all had their own journey. I mean, Toad is just a Toad guy.
That's true.
And Sabretooth, I didn't even know that Sabretooth had eventually been revealed to be Logan's brother, Wolverine's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that at all. So we didn't incorporate any of that.
God, you didn't?
No,
Jesus.
I know. I'm sure
I thought everybody.
younger X-Men fans were probably outraged. But for the X-Men, well, basically what I did was I just wanted to make sure each character had, and Magneto, that each character had a beginning and a middle and an end, no matter what, how big or small those things were. So what I did was I did a global search through the script for just the characters' names saying dialogue, and I went through all of Cyclops' dialogue, all of Storm's dialogue, all of Jean's dialogue, to make sure that they at least had, some sort of growth, some sort of movement through the story. And apart from it all being difficult, I don't remember anything being specifically harder than others. The hardest thing was we wanted Beast in the movie, but we couldn't afford to have him do any action because he's a big blue creature. So we kept writing that he would break his leg before the third act action. And then eventually we were like, this is stupid. If we can't use him, then, what's the point? And so poor Beast got cut from the movie.
And that was based on just his inability to, you couldn't write for the, or didn't want to, or how
No. I wrote a big sequence where they go to the Statue of Liberty, and so I had a whole sequence where he had a big battle inside the statue where the staircases are and all that stuff, that he'd be swinging around and fighting with evil mutants and whatnot. But that was so expensive to
I see.
We didn't even create that set, so it would have been just for him.
Right.
CG was not in a place at that time where you could do like a big monkey type guy swinging around, so it just went away. At one point we had Jim Henson's company bidding to build a Beast for us, which would have been really cool.
Oh, wow.
But again, putting him up on wires and making him do acrobatics was just not within our budget range.
I will get you.
That's right.
You got to watch. Yeah.
And CGI wasn't really quite there yet, was it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, no. It was okay for doing like hard surfaces, airplanes, and rocks and stuff like that. But you couldn't do, any living creature looked like crap at that point.
I've seen an interview where you said that a lot of the actors, didn't know who you were. Some people from the studio didn't necessarily want you around there.
Oh yeah.
What was that like? And do you ever recall a moment where you sort of felt like you'd earned the trust of the people working there?
I felt I did. I don't think they ever felt I did. Yeah, they were. I was just the phone answer guy to them. I had been in a few movies and that they'd never heard of, and I had produced and starred in a movie that they'd never heard of. So, they call it breaking into Hollywood because, there comes a point where your name goes on the A-list. There's literal lists that get given out for writers, for actors, whatever, and breaking in means you end up on these lists. And it's very, there's a sense of ownership over Hollywood by studio executives and whatnot. And if they don't feel you deserve to be there, they're very resentful about that. I thought once the movie opened and made $400 million or whatever, that I'd be like, oh, okay, now they'll really respect me.
You would think.
But that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
they hired me to write X-Men too, but they were still just as vicious and just as mistrustful as they had been before.
In what way? So you would pitch something and they wouldn't agree with you? In what way were they?
No,
that way?
no, it wasn't that. If I pitched something and it was good, they would recognize it and they would back it. It was really more a matter of just how insulting the deals were, and their business affairs people, the people that make your deal, were just so dismissive and rude and
I think I know those guys.
yeah. I mean, it was just they were just hostile for no reason, and I just sort of took that as, well, this is what it's like working on the big movies. Now, I've since worked on a bunch of big movies, and it's not always like that. But it is always stressful, and it is always, you have to prove yourself again and again and again. And the fact that I came out of nowhere made them all very nervous. I mean, look, from their perspective, they have to justify to their shareholders why the phone answer guy is writing their $80 million film.
Right.
As opposed to Joss Whedon or Chris McQuarrie or these $1 million writers. So I understood it to a certain extent, but it was pretty unpleasant.
Yeah.
Was it a case of maybe just tall poppy syndrome as well as, oh, how dare this guy he hasn't sort of had to go through the hard yards and prove himself from a writing perspective. He's just been given this massive opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. They want you to have paid your dues, and they want other studios to have hired you first. So nobody wants to be the first person to hire an unknown writer, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I thought, they'd be like, oh my God, we love this scene, and they'd say, who wrote this? And
Once
I'd be
it worked, it worked.
Well, I did. And
You would think, yeah.
They'd be like, oh, okay, well, fine.
Yeah.
They grudgingly put it in the movie and grudgingly spend all the money that they made off of my scenes and so.
Right. Wow.
Not that I'm complaining. I mean, I am a little bit, but it all worked out well for everybody.
Yeah, it worked out in the end. It came out in the wash.
Yeah, and I just said, look, don't get your ego involved. Just, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Put your head down, work as hard as you can, take all the abuse, and don't, just let it roll off your back.
Let it roll off your back and then roll into the next one.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
that was it. Because getting your ego involved, especially when you're starting out, will kill you. People will be like, who do you think you are? And they won't hire you. And there are certain gatekeepers to the business in acting and writing.
Oh, yeah.
That you have to appease whether your ego likes it or not. So, best to just sort of look at it all as a game and, try to be smart, try not to take it personally, try not to let it, break you down inside.
Right. Wow. Well, good for you.
Do you think the MCU exists if you didn't write this film the way you did and had such a success?
Do I think that? Well, I mean, obviously, the X-Men films led the way towards the MCU as it is, but I also feel like there were so many amazing untapped stories in there. I think all of it, me, Kevin Feige, Tom DeSanto, the people that were real comic book fans knew that there were, 60, 70 years worth of stories
unbelievable.
that were amazing that weren't being exploited for movies. And with CG coming into its own, we were getting to a point where we could make Iron Man or the Hulk or whatever, which I worked on both of those. And so I think there would have been an MCU eventually, if the stars had come together differently. But certainly we opened the doors for that and made the studios very confident that other comic book characters could be successful in the movies.
All in the one film.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and I said to Tom Rothman, who was the president of Fox, I was like, look, there's 50 X-Men imprint comic books out there every month, like all over the world. Like we should have a built-in, enormous built-in audience.
Be a built-in audience, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, David, the comic book fans will be done by 10 p.m. Friday night, and we have to get everybody else. So that kind of put it in perspective for me.
Wow, that's interesting.
Do you agree with that perspective?
Well, he was the president of the studio. I figured he had to have done some research. Yeah. I mean, when you really think about it, the number of people who see movies versus the number of people who read anything is far greater numbers. So
I would think.
So yeah, it made sense to me. But I did feel like there was a big, an underground base of fans that that would turn out for the movie and would bring, you know, friends and girlfriends. Well, they wouldn't have girlfriends, but you know, friends and relatives and whatnot to their comic book movie to see the characters they've always loved. You know?
Yeah. And girls aren't going anyway with themselves. 5 or 6 girls.
Well, you know,
Here
but
and
the
there.
thing is, we had really kick-ass women characters, which came from the comic book.
Well, that's true.
And so it was really, you know, I mean, a personal
little
goal of mine to
crossover,
make
yeah.
sure that the girls would go, oh my God, I could be an X-Man. I could be, you know, that could
Well,
be me
Storm
up there.
was pretty bodacious.
She was pretty awesome. And Jean and Mystique is
yeah.
amazing. Like Mystique.
Mystique was the big one for me.
Yeah. And she had, people forget, she had one line in the first film and then became like a linchpin of the whole series. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I didn't know
Well, as
that.
you said earlier, you know, we had Batman and Spider-Man and Superman. It was always man. We had
always
Wonder
man.
Woman, but Wonder Woman had her own film at that point, you know?
No, just the TV show in the 70s. And in fact, you know, after X-Men, I was attached to write and direct the Black Widow movie. And I don't know,
That's right. Yeah, your daughter's named after her.
I named my daughter after her to force them to make the movie, but they didn't. And that one, we were ready to shoot. And then in one weekend, Eon Flux and Blood Rain and Ultraviolet came out in the same weekend, and they all failed. And so Lionsgate was like, oh, you know, female action movies don't work. Female superhero movies don't work. And so, you know, that knocked us back another decade or so, which was a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, you're a big comic book guy, aren't you? You love collecting comics, don't you, Jim?
Oh, God, yeah. Yep, I still go over to Burbank and hit up the comics, you know, every couple weeks.
What are your favorites?
Well, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Punisher,
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yep.
X-Men are way up there. Always loved Wolverine.
Yeah.
Deadpool. He's
Yep.
he's working. You know, gosh. And some Batman.
Oh, I was a huge Batman
huge
fan.
Batman. Yeah, there's like 8 Batman titles out there now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Did you guys get a chance to see Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, and they do this really amazing tribute to the Fox X-Men era, and so all of those behind the scenes clips from X-Men 1, I am standing like literally right off camera.
No kidding.
Watching all of that happen. So it was really emotional watching.
That's
that.
nice.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, now I'm going to look for it and look for your shadow.
Yeah, I might be in the footage. I didn't spot myself, but
Yeah.
but I am there for the entire thing.
It was emotional, wasn't it? I wasn't even involved with the project, but I felt the same way because to me, like the X-Men, to me it was like X-Men, X2, Iron Man. That was kind of like the impetus of like the new generation of superheroes. You know, it changed like the Batman Forevers and like you know that was kind of like a different. It was just a different feel to those movies.
Yeah, well, we decided, and I think that this really did help kick off the MCU, that we didn't. Well, I wanted to make a comic book movie because I knew how cool comic books were, but Bryan Singer didn't read comic books, and he was like, "No, we're just making a real movie, an actual action movie with real characters, and if it doesn't feel real, we're not doing it." And so that really, you know, taking it seriously like that, said, you know, spoke to the fans and also spoke to people who had not yet been fans. So, so it worked out pretty
And
nice.
to your point of like how far CGI has come as well, I remember there was one scene, and it's when Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting like all the multiverse of Deadpools, and I swear there was like an entire animated fight scene. Like I swear there was no stunt people or anything. It was just like it looked like a video game. It was just like. I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, that was all animated. Like that was 100% animated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they can do now, but they could not do that back in
It's just about magic.
Indeed.
You know, it is to me. I'm still impressed with Etch-a-Sketches and you know,
me too.
So
No, it's
I'm
baffling.
easily
to me.
pleased. Yeah, it's so true.
How different do you think your X-Men scripts would have been had you had that technology at your fingertips to work with at the time?
Well, first one wouldn't have been too different because they were, you know, they said the budget is $75 million, which was pretty tight even then for the size of movie we were trying to make. And our first budget came in at 82, and I was like, oh, they're going to be thrilled. But they were not thrilled.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, we're so close.
It's not bad.
And but they were not thrilled. They said, you know, $75 million, not a penny more. Can you make it for that amount? And we were like, if that's what you're giving us, that's what we can do. So it wasn't really, I mean, there were limitations to the technology, but it wasn't about that. It was about they didn't want to spend a dime more than they had to try to make a dent with this movie. So it was almost like making, you know, it's weird to say it was $75 million, but it was like making an indie superhero film.
Well, so the 2024 perspective, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Now that budget is so minuscule, but yeah. So we were definitely limited by, and the first cut of the movie was over 2 hours long, and we called it Woody Allen's X-Men because there wasn't enough action to fill the movie. It was just people talking
Woody
the whole
Allen's
time. That Magneto.
I feel like movies now, they go for 2 hours as an average now, I feel, because they want to give people their money's worth for actually forking out and going to the films.
Yeah, when maybe they should not do that.
Yeah, what's your ideal length for a film like that? Between 90 and 100 minutes?
It depends on how much story you have. So I also worked on Watchmen, but that's adapted from an extremely complex book. It's like a 7-act movie.
Oh God, yeah.
And
all the characters.
Yeah, all the characters have massive intertwined backstories and all that stuff. So that movie's over 3 hours long, and I think if it's not Watchmen. But X-Men should have been an hour and a half. I love a good 90-minute movie. I think X-Men was 98 actually, but in X-Men 2 we had more story, and so that one was 2 hours long. It just depends on how much story you have. But if you make a 2-hour movie and you only have 80 minutes worth of story, then it gets tiresome, you know.
They're stretching.
Yeah, just saying we'll throw everything in because we have it is not a reason to make a movie that long, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to be. Isn't it 60 minutes? Has to be for a quote unquote
for
movie?
A feature film. I think it's like 72
Is
or
it
something
72?
like that. Under that, it's not doesn't qualify as a movie.
Yeah, because I remember when Winnie the Pooh was made into a movie in the 60s. We were talking about this earlier. I think they put together 3 22-minute shorts,
right,
and called it a movie,
right,
and it was great, you know. And then they released it. It won an Academy Award, and thank God they didn't do anything for the next 20 years, because it gave me a chance to grow up and become Winnie the Pooh.
right.
So, you know, back then, weird
So great.
the way things work.
Yeah,
I'll take it, right?
indeed.
Well, that's amazing. So I feel like I'm being redundant here, but do you like the writing more, or is it on camera or off camera for you? In other words, you know, I mean, what's more rewarding or?
Well, that's a good way to put it. The writing is more rewarding financially.
Gotta be. Okay.
You know, that pays for my cushy lifestyle.
There you go.
And I do like that.
We do like cushy.
Cush is good.
Yeah, very comfortable and
Can't beat
nice
a
cars
good.
and whatnot.
Can't beat a good Cush.
Indeed. I think voiceover is the most pure fun job. Like, I just absolutely love that. I love doing on camera, but you know, it's boring. You're in your trailer the whole time. It's either super hot or super cold, or you're covered in bugs or toxic goo or whatnot.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, that was all I wanted to do when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now, you know, now I'm used to a more comfortable lifestyle. I was doing a Canadian horror movie about 10 years back, and I was just covered in prosthetics and like toxic blood and stuff. And I was like, what am I doing this for? Like, I don't need to be doing this. But it was still fun. So, and the writing can be very rewarding and fun. But it's harder. It's more frustrating. It's less about fun because you're working with major studios who are very concerned about budgets and you know, their businessy things. You know, whereas you get into a booth with Chris Zimmerman directing or something, and it's just you're just having a blast. And the idea is to come in and have fun and to play and to create.
Absolutely.
So they all have
Bring
different.
all that with you.
Yeah, they all have different charms for me. You know.
Can you tell us about the first day you went in to do Solid Snake? Because I think you said it was about a 10-day recording session, right, for that
correct.
first game. What was the vibe like? Did you know at that time? Could you get a sense there's something special here, or was it just sort of, well, I think it's good, but let's just see how it goes? Or could you just sense at the time this is going to be a hit?
When I went into audition, the Yoji Shinkawa artwork was up on the walls, And I saw that. And so if you haven't seen it, you can Google Yoji Shinkawa. And
I think that's always helpful.
yeah, well, it's just the artwork was so badass and so ahead of its time. I mean, it was just so visionary. And then I went in to record, and we were recording in this weird house that wasn't a recording studio. It was a living room with like five microphones set up, and then the engineer was just in the room with us with Chris.
Oh, wow.
So they had to be super quiet.
I've had
while
a couple
we were
of
recording.
those.
Yeah.
They take you by surprise. You're going, wait, this is it? Okay,
Yeah.
well, fine.
Yeah, so we were in there, and then I was already thinking that this was going to be a pretty epic game because I was a gamer and I knew the state of the art. And then in the middle of the day, I think it was Jeremy Blaustein, the producer and translator, the guy who wrote the English language lines, translated them, played us the cut scene where Snake shoots down the Hind D helicopter. And when we saw that, I was like, okay, this is an entirely new thing. It's clearly very expensive, and they're making a big swing at it. So I expected from that moment on that it would be big. I didn't expect to be talking about it 25 years later, but I figured it would be a big game and maybe have some sequels and stuff. So yeah, I was very excited.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And now they're doing, is it a remaster, Metal Gear Solid Delta?
Yeah.
It's a
So Metal
remaster.
Gear Metal Gear 3 is pretty much recognized as the most beloved of the titles, and so
Was that Snake Eater?
Snake Eater, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just an
That's your
amazing.
favorite, right?
It's goes back to the
love
'60s,
it.
and it's sort of
Yeah.
like a James Bond spy
Oh, wow.
thing. I mean, it's really amazing. And so so they're doing a remaster. I got to play it the other day. I mean, it's spectacularly beautiful. And, yeah. So people are going to be blown away.
Yeah. Wow. You're reprising the role, obviously.
Sort of. They're using the original tracks.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, I'll do some cleanup tracks and things like
Okay.
that, and clarify any controls that have been changed and stuff like that. But it's the original performance.
Right on.
Well, that's
Right on.
great.
Yes. Saves me
Wow.
time.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll take it. Ka-ching.
How did you approach the voice? Because going in, obviously, you didn't really have much to work with. By the time you made the second and third, you knew who Solid Snake was. Like, how did you create the Solid Snake voice?
Unlike all the other games or any other thing, they sent me the script before, like a month or two before we recorded, and it was a stack of pages like this. So I had auditioned with my voice, which at the time, kind of sounded like this. I sounded like, a cocky fighter pilot type of guy, and I auditioned. And I think, I'm not sure about this, I think I got the role because I had starred in a movie called Guyver Dark Hero in
94.
1993, and Hideo Kojima was a fan of that movie. So I think he just said, "Oh, David Hayter, we'll hire that guy." But I read the script, and in the opening, Snake is already retired, and he's a legend, and he doesn't want to come back. And they basically go and they hijack him from his ranch in Alaska and
Pulling me back.
they pull him back in. And I was just like, I feel like this guy needs to sound older than I do, and I feel like he needs to sound like he's been dragged across a bunch of bad road, and there's got to be weight to it. There's got to be this heavy kind of I don't want to come back kind of feel to it. And so that's so it just came out of the script. And so I didn't perform the voice I auditioned with, which typically isn't a good idea, but
Yeah.
but Chris
You're going, wait a minute, where's the other guy?
yeah, in the middle of recording, Chris goes, "Hey, can I play you the voice you auditioned with?" And I was like, "No, I know." It's like, should we go back? And she goes, "No, I think this is working." And I felt good about it too.
That's cool.
I felt like, it's not really a real voice. It's sort of a larger than life version of a badass.
Right.
And I kind of felt like people would get into it.
Well, that's what's up.
And they did. And it was, and again, it's because of my love of what I was doing. That comes through, and hopefully
Yeah, it
people,
does.
you know what it is.
Yeah,
you put
yeah,
your love
yeah.
and fire into it, people respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it shows.
Yeah, well,
It shows. People get it. No doubt about it.
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you do any, are you
Bad
strictly an
guys?
actor, or do you write? And I should know this because we've
No,
known each other for
I
10
mean,
years
it's
now.
just, just VO.
Oh, yeah.
Used to be in plays as a kid, obviously, but I think everybody was. But that and singing, you know.
Yeah. And have you had any
That's
success
about it.
with those?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
I've been all over the world with Jim and just
Yeah.
seen children's eyes explode with excitement when they hear him, and it's a cool thing.
Well, it's fun because
It's a
a lot of
superpower.
people think, I'm not even sure why they think this, but for some reason, Winnie the Pooh, you know, they'll say, well, can you sign this for me? And you know, be signing something and it'll be Pooh and Tigger. And then I'll give them a little Winnie the Pooh and have a smackerel of honey on me. And they go, I thought you had to go somewhere and do something and do that. Like there's a spit. Oh yeah, I forgot I didn't have that diode in my head today.
That's
so
so
I won't be
funny.
able to do it. But yeah, they think that there's something going on there.
I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
People are like, could you possibly do this in the snake voice? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I can do it anytime.
yeah, yeah. See?
See, right? Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. Hey, you know.
But I mean,
it
it's
works.
you know, it's alchemy, it's magic to you know. I mean, like, you know, I've done pretty well, but I look at Jim and
Yeah.
I look at Maurice LaMarche and Billy West, and there's just the stuff you guys do is just it's still magic.
really
to
annoying.
Me.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
That's personality. That's different.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, you're annoying, but we don't mind Darkwing Duck. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man. So heroes or villains? What do you think? What do you like?
I always my whole acting career. I mean, with very few exceptions, I always got cast as heroes. My whole life until I turned 40, and then they started turning me into a villain. It's like that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Leo meets with Pacino, and he's telling him, "Oh, it's an old Hollywood trick. You know, they take an old action star and they put him up against a young guy, and young guy kicks the shit out of you." And excuse me. And he, you know, but he's really, you know, kicking the crap out of Jake Cahill or whatever, and you know, and so now that's me. So now I play like insane soldiers that other people have to come after. But villains
Up there in the
are
bell
more fun
tower.
to play.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I always love being the hero, and I always love, you know, doing the right thing, getting the girl and whatnot.
Yeah.
But playing a psychopath is
not
more
bad.
fun than anything. You know,
It's got to be.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I've had a few of those, but not many psychopaths. But one of them would be Splatterhouse, I think. You know.
Right.
But I'm not going to bring that up because he's got a potty mouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So do I. Apparently,
So-
I apologize.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, you like him.
Oh no, it's the one that Jim just won't talk about anymore. It's like the Holy Grail. The people want to hear him do Terror Mask, and he goes, "I'm not doing it anymore."
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's been done.
I'm sorry, I don't know that one though. Not to
That's
keep
okay.
talking about
No,
it.
it's a video game.
Okay.
If you play it, you know. If you didn't, you don't.
Right.
So you're fine.
Yeah. I want to touch on, you've mentioned numerous times your fan fiction when you were 12, the Star Wars
Yeah.
Indiana Jones stuff.
That's right.
I want to know what the story. Did you have Indiana meet Han Solo? What were the stories there?
No, I had Indiana Jones. I remember one sequence. Yeah. So I started, for anybody who doesn't know, that's how I started writing. I was obsessed with Star Wars. Then I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then I started writing fan fiction. I'd like to think I invented it, but probably not. But I was 12 years old, and I remember there was like one scene on like a super sci-fi train. He was on the roof of it, and he had a laser whip. So I came up with this idea for Indiana Jones, but he's got like a Han Solo type laser whip and sort of thing, which they actually just used in Acolyte. I don't think they stole
Yeah.
it from my work, but
No, we'll claim it.
yeah. But I did come up with it, 40 years earlier. So.
Damn it. Yes. Well, I'm pretty sure that I invented the Power Rangers. Me and my best friend Kenny.
Is that right?
We pitched it. We pitched something like that to Fox, and then 5 years later, the Power Rangers were there. And I often wondered, is it worth it? Is it? And I don't know how I could have proved it, but it was teenage kids who banded together and blah blah, and then next thing you know, they appear and they're one is super this and one super that and it was kind of like, you know, and it made you scratch your head. But what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah, those are very difficult situations. I've been in those situations, and I've been in legal discussions with studios and whatnot. I mean, it's going to cost you $100,000 to go up against them. They have the best lawyers in the world. It's you know, you never want to do that unless you have a lot of money to put into it, and unless you've got them. If you've delivered a copyrighted piece of material that's called the Power Rangers, and they've got the white, yellow, red, black.
right.
If you've done all that, great. Actually, the Writers Guild at that point will put up their own lawyers to help you go after them. But
and it wasn't that specific.
You
We
better
just
be
felt-
airtight.
Yeah,
or
we
they'll
just
destroy you.
Yeah, we figured they just got the inkling, and you know what we could do? We could do, you know, and it was like,
I had a friend who wrote a movie, sent it to the woman who eventually starred in the movie, sent it to the producer who ultimately made the movie, and it was exactly the same. And he sued, and he had all the documentation and everything. He sued, got a judge who didn't really understand how the business works, got the judgment put against him, and then was charged $250,000 to pay for the studio's legal fees.
What?
That stole his film, and eventually that got thrown out. But he could have been stuck for $250,000 defending his own film, which was clearly stolen. So anyway, this is all inside baseball, but it's like
that's painful though. That's painful.
You
to
really
hear.
have to be careful going up against these
Boy, no
entities.
kidding. Well,
you know,
that's why they're the big guys.
yeah, they got all the money in the world, and you gotta take that into account.
And nothing but time.
Nothing but time and lawyers, and they don't care. That's what their lawyers are there for.
Yeah, that's right. Ouch. Lesson learned.
Anyway, there's probably more fun stuff we could talk about.
Yeah.
What did you watch growing up? You said you're a big fan of Star Wars, Indiana Jones. What did you watch TV show wise?
Well, there are only three stations. So I mean, I also grew up in Canada, so I watched the same shows everybody else did. I mean, through the 80s, I loved, I don't know, Cheers and.
Were you a He-Man fan or anything?
I was not a He-Man fan. He-Man came out when I was 12, so I guess I was in the demographic, but I never really bought it. I always thought He-Man was super lazy. I'm like, we need a strong guy. We'll call him He-Man, and then we got a skeleton face guy. What can we call him? What's the most creative?
I know.
How about Skeleton? No, that's stupid one. How about Skeletor? All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, but
I want to go for lunch.
what are we going to call the He-Man?
Yeah.
He-Man.
Well, let's call him He-Man, and his friend who's got the big fist. How about Fisto?
Yeah.
That's a real guy, by the way. Fisto, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So even at 12, I was like, that's just lazy writing. Like, that's not very
and
good.
She-Ra, come on.
She-Ra, exactly.
So even at 12, you're like, it's beneath me. Get back to my fan fiction.
Totally. Well, by then I was already into the X-Men comics, and Chris Claremont and John Byrne, and I mean the stories were so deep and so adult and so psychological. I was past all that. But I loved, I loved the original Star Trek. I love Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I was watching everything everybody else was. But I also, growing up in Canada, we had a lot of British shows. So I loved Monty Python and Dave Allen and, all these BBC shows that really spoke to me as well.
Yeah, oh God, Monty Python, they were the
Holy
Grail.
Yeah,
no, but seriously.
That was the best, most inspiring for me. I mean, the writing of it, the brilliance of it, the comedy of it was so sharp.
Yeah. Just saw John Cleese's Faulty Towers.
Oh, first time?
Uh-huh.
Oh, so good.
It was good.
First time.
Amazing.
No. I mean, are they still doing a remake?
No, I meant the play. I meant the what was it, Broadway or no? Or
it was off Broadway in London.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It was very good.
I didn't know they had done a Broadway adaptation.
Really
West
cool.
End adaptation.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, cool.
It just premiered just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I just met John Cleese at one of the Comic-Cons recently, and I was like, what can I say that won't make me sound like an idiot? And then, so I introduced, I didn't succeed, but I introduced myself as a screenwriter, and I said, look, I just want to say the screenplay for A Fish Called Wanda is so sharp, and it's so smart and perfectly constructed. And he just lit up, and so we started, chatting.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's good.
it was great. I was, just over the moon.
Oh,
him.
yes. Yeah, that's one of my favorite films, actually.
It's
Period.
it's so perfect. It's so unique.
Yeah,
and
it is
Kevin
perfect.
Kline is just astounding in that movie.
He is. He
So
is.
if you haven't seen it, check out A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think he's underrated anyway, Kevin Kline.
Yeah,
Sort
well,
of
he
in
certainly
general.
doesn't work as much as he should. I mean, for a while in
As
the
he
80s
could,
and
or-
90s, he was
all over, yeah.
I mean, I think that was the first Oscar won for comedic role. I might be wrong, but I mean, maybe,
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot or something, but I remember like it was unheard of that a comedian, like a comic role would win the Academy Award, but
Yeah.
he earned it, man.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. Wow. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
We'll have to get him on.
Should do.
When it comes to writing, David, would you say video game storytelling, it's more like a television show in a sense, it's more episodic, like mission by mission as opposed to a movie?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It's sort of like Japanese storytelling in a way, in that
Wow.
like Japanese movies, not all of them, but a good portion of them are not necessarily fully linear. Like they're like, we're experiencing this portion of the movie now, and now we're experiencing this portion of the movie. Like, I mean, this is an extreme example, but like Akira Kurosawa's Dreams just goes from this to that to this to that. And I feel like a lot of Japanese storytelling is like that. So when you're writing a game that's going to take 60 to 100 hours to play, it can't be in movie structure because you'll have, huge stretches where it's super depressing and nothing's happening. Like you can't just stretch out a 2-hour movie structure into 60 to 100 hours. Like Grand Theft Auto 5, I feel like is the best written video game to date.
It's like you're in a movie.
You're living a movie, but each adventure is its own movie. And and all three of those guys, those characters are developing, but really the same dynamics are happening to them again and again and again. And this story, then this story, then this story. So it's when it's done right, it's a pretty unique form of storytelling. I mean, it's more like a novel, really, where you can sort of meander around, take side trips and side missions and things like that. But you still have to develop character. You still have to bring them, ideally, to a resolution. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 did that in a spectacular way. By the end, if you have the one ending where they all survive, there are various endings. It's really satisfying. It's like they're standing on the edge of that cliff, and they're like, we feel like we've been through something, and the sun is setting. I mean, it's a really unique application of writing, I think, and people are getting better at it. Like it took a long time for video games to develop really effective storytelling, and I think Metal Gear helped usher that in.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like in the last 15 to 20 years, video games are taken seriously now.
Yeah.
So people are willing to invest in it. Yeah.
Totally. Well, yeah. I mean, the money they make is equal to, if not greater than, the movies now. So
Isn't it? Yeah, I think it's better.
It's worth it. And if you're going to spend 60 to 100 hours with these characters, you want good story. Good story sells more games and makes for a better experience.
Yeah.
Do you still play games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are you playing right now?
What am I playing? I just went back and I replayed the Mad Max game on the PS4.
Yeah.
Because there was some sort of controversy about it. Like George Miller said,
Oh, yeah?
he wanted Hideo Kojima to come in and do a Mad Max game, and because he said he was disappointed in the one that came out, and it's so good. Like that game is so. I was so obsessive about that game. You're building up the car, like you really feel like Mad Max, and your car gets better and better, and you're going into these amazing underground post-apocalyptic things, and you're just punching the hell out of people, and you got your dog with you to sniff out mines.
Yeah, as long as you have your dog. That's right.
And the leather jacket, you can get the leather jacket at a certain point. So I just replayed that, and I just want to shout out to the Mad Max team, creative team, because I know they were hurt by those comments, and that game kicked ass. So I highly recommend picking that one up again.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you ever do live streams, Let's Plays, playing games?
No. I did with Vanessa Marshall because she's my friend and she asked me to do it. No, I don't like I don't like playing games with other people. I don't.
I get it.
I play games to be away from other people, and so I don't do massive multiplayer online or anything. I just don't, it's like being attacked by ants.
Okay.
So no, so I don't do that, and I also don't want to be, to have the pressure of people going, he's Solid Snake, so he must be the greatest gamer in the world. I'm like, no, I'm just enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Leave me the hell alone.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a good gamer?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some things I can play. I mean, there's some games I was obsessive about that I'm amazing at. Trying to think of what they are. Well, like Assassin's Creed or whatever. I play that so much that that I would be really good. But some games I'm not great at, but I don't care. I just enjoy the story. I just enjoy sort of bumbling through, and I don't have any need to master every game that I get into.
Well, you'd be busy.
Yeah, it's too much to...
not enough hours in the day for that.
Yeah, and I also like playing just to know what the state of the art is, to say, oh, there's a big game, I want to see what it's like. Sometimes I'll play, through the first third of it and then put it away and not worry about it. Sometimes I get obsessed and I'll play it again and again, That's
The reason I brought up the comparison with TV shows before is because very often when you watch a TV show, you have your favorite episodes. Do you have favorite missions in any various games that you've played?
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, like... there's an underground bank heist or jewelry heist in Grand Theft Auto 5 that I loved. There's all the airplane smuggling games in GTA 5. In Metal Gear 3, there's the sniper fight against the end, which is just across this massive space of this guy's somewhere in the mountains coming for you, and you've got a directional mic so you can hear him because he's old. He's like 100 years old, and he'll fall asleep, and you can hear him snoring, and then you have to like find your way up the mountain without waking him up to take him out, and it can take days to figure it out. And
Jesus!
So that it feels so real, and so I love that, and
I love how many clever aspects to the Metal Gear franchise there are like that. Like that was a great mission, and like another one that comes to mind is like, I forget which one you're fighting. I want to say it's Vamp and Psycho Mantis.
Yeah.
And you have to take out the controller out of your socket and put it into another socket so that he couldn't control your character. And like, I just thought that was so creative.
Well, it's this guy, and he's psychic, so every time you fire your bullets, he knows it's coming. So he just zips out of the way, and you cannot hit him. And then in the original game, you had to unplug your controller from port 1, put it into port 2, and suddenly he's like, I can't read your mind, like this. And he...
Oh, no. Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was really cool.
And he would like read your memory card. I remember playing that as a kid, and he would be like, I see you're playing Super Smash Brothers. And I'm like, how did he know that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, any Konami games that were on your memory card, he'd be like, oh, I see you're a fan of Castlevania.
Oh, man.
Like, who is this guy? Oh, and then the other thing they did...
Who is that guy, indeed?
The other thing they did was... he goes, I will show you my psychic power. Put your controller down on a hard surface. So you put it down on your table, and then he'd activate the vibration, and it would start to move across the table by itself. Like, I mean, it was so brilliant.
Wow.
And that's one of the great ones.
Really clever.
Oof.
Would you ever write a video game?
I've talked to people about it. Their feeling is they would love to have me write it, but they're not used to paying people as much as I get paid to write movies and stuff. Because in the movies, you build up quotes, and then it's like, well, I'm not going to work for less than this. And typically, if it's a big event, you make a little bit more than your quote. You build up your quotes. So I've been doing it 25 years. So they don't want to pay me what a big writer deserves on a big game usually. But I don't know, hopefully in the future maybe something will come along that
is that something like you aspire to do? Would you want to do it, or is it kind of just like
I feel like, well, TV, movies, video games, I don't care as long as the story's good and as long as it gets made. Those are my two favorite things about
I would think.
About because you
Those
write
are two good ones.
Yeah, because you write. I get hired to write a lot of movies that don't get made because I come in to sort of break big expensive movies that they're afraid to greenlight, and so most of them they're too nervous about it, and the movies just disappear, or they hire 16 more writers or whatnot. So a lot of things you write, put your heart and soul into, just get thrown out, and that's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But no, I'd love to write a great video game and just create a whole world. And because I, like comic books, I love that world. Yeah. Same thing with comic, but people have been like, would you ever write a comic book? And I'm like, yeah, but it would take me forever to do it, and it would, they pay them nothing. It's not. Yeah. It's not right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Ouch. That's depressing to me because I love comics so much.
It's super depressing. It's
shouldn't be that way.
No, there should be profit sharing, and if a comic book becomes huge, it makes a lot of money. The artists and the writers should be compensated, but it's a very harsh business.
Yeah,
I love that you once. Is it true you once gave up half of your salary so that you could bring back the original voice cast for a game?
It's almost true. When we did the remake of Metal Gear Solid for the Nintendo system, they didn't want to bring back the original cast because everybody wanted more money. And I was asking for a lot more money because I was already now a screenwriter. I had lawyers and, I was negotiating other deals. And so I said, but I wanted the original cast back. So I said, I wanted like this much money. So I said, will you pay me this much money? And they said, yeah. So I said, okay, great. Take this much off and split that up and give it to the rest of the cast so we can bring back the main people. So it wasn't half, but it was a good chunk,
I think just any is credit.
That's incredible that you would do that. Good for you, I mean.
Yeah, well, it's just, it was people like Jennifer Hale and Christopher Randolph, Paul Eiding. Not only were these my friends, but Jennifer Hale, I wouldn't have a voiceover career if it weren't for Jennifer Hale.
Really?
She got me into it, and she even claims that she convinced Chris to bring me in for Metal Gear. So I owe everything to Jennifer Hale. So I'll do anything for her and for the others. We're all very close. And I was like, you can't replace Otacon. You can't replace the Colonel. Like, that's insane. And it wasn't that much money. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't go broke off of my largesse. I just
clearly
I just wanted them to have
life,
a little nod towards the success of the first game.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, should we play this voice swap, Chris, or not?
Yeah, voice swap. Each of you will do a voice character line. So say you'll do a line of Snake, and then Jim will repeat that line in, say, Winnie the Pooh, and then vice versa. We'll switch back and forth. It's just a little game we play with each of the guests that are on the show.
A little game. Well, let's play it then.
Let's do it.
Why not, eh?
Go ahead. You want to give me one of your snaky lines, and I'll have Pooh say it.
A strong man doesn't need to read the future. He makes his own.
Ooh. A strong bear doesn't need to read the future. He steals his own. Makes his own.
Wait, can you do that line as Hondo as well? I feel like Hondo would literally say that.
A strong man does not need to
read
the future. He makes his own.
Nice.
Hondo. You got to love Hondo.
I loved Hondo. But I think I even prefer.
Well, you don't actually have to love Hondo, but I do.
Yeah?
I do.
No, that's a great voice.
All right, well, let's see then.
Let's do Tigger.
Yeah, Tigger's not bad.
I want to see Snake say Tigger.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The wonderful thing about Tiggers is Tiggers are wonderful things.
The wonderful thing about Tiggers is that Tiggers are wonderful things.
Well, that's true. He's got a point there. They are pretty wonderful.
Their bodies are made out of rubber, and their tails are made out of springs. They're bouncy, flouncy, jouncy, pouncy, fun. But the most wonderful thing about Tiggers is that I'm the only one. I'm the only one.
I was waiting for the tag. Yeah. Yes. David Hayter, ladies and gentlemen.
I love hearing that. I mean, obviously we've met each other at a couple conventions now, and I still can't get over that. Like, when I hear Snake, like, I've played those games for so many hours, and it's just like it sends me every time.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's a weird thing because, many grown men will burst into tears at my table, and
isn't that something?
But you spend. I mean, some people spend years playing these games, and it's not like watching a movie where you're watching Harrison Ford or you know, whomever up on the screen doing their thing. It's you are the character, you're the player character, but it's my voice in your head the whole time. So it's a really intimate experience, and like we go through so much over the course of the 9 games I did. You know, there's just so many moments and emotional things, and it really, you know, and people bond with their dads or their uncles or brothers, whomever, over it, and so it really gets woven into their heads. So it's a cool kind of fame to have, because, you know, if you don't know Metal Gear, you won't know who I am. You'll be like, "What? Do you have laryngitis? What's your problem?" But if you do know Metal Gear and you find out, like, people just flip out. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah.
Oof. I remember when video games were first coming up, and they were saying, "Well, they're not going to last. They're not going to last." And I was like, "Nothing comes. Like video itself didn't videotape. No, nobody wants to rent. Yeah, talk. Yeah,
Is that going to catch
that
on?
Stupid.
Yeah.
It was that. I was like, nothing comes out, changes the world, then just goes away.
Yeah.
You know.
No, first time I saw Pong, I was like, it just exploded in my brain. I was like, oh yeah, I can control my TV. Like that's
Oh God.
It's a whole new thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in.
Yep.
Well, what's up next for you? Do you have anything to plug or anything to talk about?
Not real. I mean, everything I do is secret until it comes out. I mean, you know, I hope people are still enjoying. I was the executive producer and executive producer on Warrior Nun on Netflix.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that show, there's two pretty awesome seasons. In fact, best reviewed seasons of television in Netflix history.
Wow.
We had 100% audience score, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, 99% audience score, which is yet to be topped.
Wow.
I have, I mean, I've got a couple of television shows that I'm developing right now with different studios, but I can't talk about them yet.
Okay.
But things are coming down the road. Just keep an eye out for my name, and hopefully I'll have something for you sooner rather than later.
Sounds good.
Right on.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you again, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, gentlemen. This is a great conversation. Always great to see you all, and nice to meet you. And yeah, this is just super fun. I'd love to be back sometime.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.
Snake out.
Snake out.
All right, guys, thanks for checking out the latest episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings with David Hayter. If you're watching this on YouTube, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and comment below. Tell us what you thought of the episode. Jim reads all the comments, and they are all much appreciated. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Jim Cummings Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to get in touch, it is just Jim Cummings Podcast at gmail.com. And if you want early and ad-free access to the show, as well as access to exclusive bonus content, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Jim Cummings Podcast. Thanks again, David. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
What was that
Jim,
part
Chris?
in the middle? Just kidding. No. Thank you.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings.
Boom.
That was
Clap.
That was a Fish Called Wanda joke. What was the middle thing again?
Yeah. Oh, was it? See,
Yeah.
I'm sure I stole it. I think we subliminally steal things. I do.